Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, I am going to give you some book recommendations based off of songs from Speak Now, Taylor's version. I love books and I love Taylor Swift. So in honor of the Taylor's version of Speak Now, I decided to make a video talking about some books that remind me of certain songs on the album. I am not going to have a recommendation for every song, just a few where I felt like I could recommend you a book that actually has a decent parallel to the song. The other thing that I will say is I have seen many people make videos where they recommend books based on Taylor Swift songs or albums. The thing is, 99% of the time, the books that I see recommended are romance, and personally, I don't read romance. So, if you, like me, love Taylor Swift but aren't really into romance books, definitely keep watching this video. I think pretty much all the books I'm going to recommend to you today are either mysteries, thrillers, or historical fiction, because those are the types of books that I personally like to read, and if that's what you like too, definitely stick around. First, let's start with the title track, Speak Now. The basic premise of this song is that our speaker is interrupting a wedding because she believes the groom should not be with his stuck-up bride, he should be with her instead. So when I was thinking of what book to recommend for this song, I wanted something that 1, deals with a wedding, 2, has a lot of privileged characters like the bride in this song, and 3, also deals with some romantic jealousy. So what I thought of is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This is a mystery thriller novel that takes place at a wedding on an isolated island, and it follows many different characters in attendance at this wedding, including the bride, the groom, the bride's sister, the best man, etc. Over the course of this wedding weekend, one of them is going to end up dead. I think this book fits all the criteria I was looking for because obviously it's set at a wedding, that is the premise of the book, and also these characters all have extremely glamorous lifestyles, and we do find out that some of the characters in this book do have some secret romantic histories with each other. I also want to shout out another book here that I personally have not read, so I cannot testify to its quality, but because The Guest List is such a popular book, I was going on Google trying to think, are there any other thrillers set at weddings that I'm just not thinking of at the top of my head? And I came across this book, which, like I said, I've never read it, but it sounds perfect for Speak Now. This book is called You're Invited by Amanda Jayatisa. This is another book set at a destination wedding, and the main character finds out that her best friend is getting married to her, the main character's ex-boyfriend. She decides to go to this wedding with the intention of stopping the marriage, but when she arrives, the bride ends up disappearing and she becomes a suspect. I haven't read this book. I don't know if it's any good, but just that premise, is this not a Speak Now book? Because I think it is. Next, Never Grow Up. For this recommendation, I wanted to talk about a book that really deals with parent and child relationships. I decided that what I was going to recommend for this song is The Lost Orphan by Stacey Halls. I believe this book was also published in the UK under the title The Foundling, so you might have heard of it referred to by that title as well. This is a historical fiction novel set in Georgian London. A few years ago, our main character, Bess, gave birth to a child out of wedlock, so she surrendered her newborn daughter to the Foundling Hospital with the intention of reclaiming her daughter once she is in the financial position to raise her. Now, Bess has enough money that she feels like she can get her daughter back, but when she returns to the Foundling Hospital several years later, they tell her, your daughter's not here, someone else claiming to be you came to the hospital and picked her up. So Bess goes on a journey through Georgian London to figure out who took her daughter, why, and can she get her daughter back. I wanted to recommend this book for this prompt because it really does tell a story of mother and child relationships, both Bess's love for her daughter and also the relationship of the other main character, Alexandra, with her child. I also wanted to recommend a book to you that I feel like is not talked about on booktube as frequently as some of the other books on this list. I really quite enjoyed this one. I would like to read more from Stacey Halls in the future. Next, Better Than Revenge. So this is the song that Taylor Swift wrote about Camilla Bell, the actress that her then boyfriend Joe Jonas left her for. So for this book recommendation, I need to give a story that really deals with that revenge element. And to be completely honest with you, my first, most obvious thought was clearly The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. This was a very hyped mystery thriller on booktube back when it first came out, and I think it works so well for this song. This book follows two main perspectives. We have Vanessa. Now, Vanessa's husband, Richard, has left her for another woman, and Vanessa is struggling to move on. She develops an unhealthy habit of watching Richard's new partner, and she sets out to destroy their relationship. We also follow Nellie. Nellie is engaged to Richard, but as her wedding date approaches, she gets this eerie feeling that someone is watching her. This book works perfectly for that song. However, since it is so extremely popular, and I feel like pretty much everyone who has interest in this book has read it already, I also wanted to give you another recommendation that maybe you haven't read already. Now, I need to preface this next Better Than Revenge recommendation with a little story so you follow my train of thought. Now, as all you Swifties who have listened to Speak Now, Taylor's version, will know, she actually changed one of the lyrics in Better Than Revenge because she regretted, basically, the original song. She felt like she was blaming Camilla a little too much and being sort of sexist towards her, so Taylor wanted to change the lyric. That got me thinking, okay, what if I recommend a revenge thriller that has a little bit more of a feminist bent that's more fitting for this day and age? And that's why I am recommending They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. I actually have very similar feelings about this book that I do with The Wife Between Us. Both of these books were 4-star thrillers for me, and I thought they had absolutely shocking, mind-blowing twists, though I think they lost their momentum in the ending a little bit, but I still really enjoyed them because I never saw the reveals coming in either. In They Never Learn, our main character is Scarlett. She is an English professor at a college, but what people don't know about her is she murders men, particularly men who have raped or abused women. If the system is not going to punish them, then Scarlett will. Definitely recommend this book if you are looking for a good revenge thriller with some sapphic elements. Next on my list, I wanted to recommend a book for the song Innocent. This is a song that Taylor Swift wrote about Kanye West after he had that infamous award show interrupting moment, basically saying that she forgives him for what he did to her and absolving him from blame. That did not age well because I think in 2023 we can all say Kanye West has learned absolutely nothing for his actions. He's one of my least favorite celebrities, but you know what? I love that Taylor tried to be so forgiving, you know? Good for you, Queen. I still hate his guts, but good for you. So for this song, my goal was to recommend a book that really plays with that theme of guilt and innocence. Can people be redeemed after they have done a really horrible thing? It has been quite a while since I read this book, so my memory is a bit foggy, but a book that I think would really work for this song is I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. I think this book really does address those themes of guilt and redemption very well. This book begins after a young boy named Jacob dies tragically. He was killed in a hit-and-run accident, and the police are trying to figure out who it was that hit him. At the same time, we also follow Jenna. Jenna moves to a very remote seaside village in, I think it was Wales, to try to move on after the death of her son. However, the ghosts from her past will not leave her alone. This book is technically a mystery thriller. I do think in some ways it reads more like a contemporary. The themes do remind me of this song, though granted, it's been a long time since I read this book. I'm just telling you how I remember it. It does have a twist that a lot of people think is really surprising, so do check this book out if it sounds interesting to you. Now I wanted to recommend a book for the song Haunted. This song deals with the end of a relationship, having a hard time moving on after being left by this person. But I think, if you analyze the lyrics, this relationship was not necessarily the healthiest relationship. Taylor does say, you and I always walked a fragile line. I don't think that's the exact lyric, but that's basically it. Something has made your eyes grow cold. So I wanted to recommend a book that kind of has some dark atmosphere and also deals with a character trying to move on from relationships that were important to them, but maybe not the most healthy. So the book that I am recommending for this is The Shape of Darkness by Laura Purcell. This is a Victorian Gothic historical fiction set in Bath. The main character, Agnes, is a miniature artist. Agnes is struggling to keep her business afloat as the age of photography dawns, but supporting her aging mother and her young nephew Cedric is very important to her. However, multiple people who visit Agnes's business to have their portraits done end up murdered. So Agnes begins to wonder, why is a serial killer targeting her clients? Is this person trying to frame her? She ends up teaming up with a young psychic named Pearl to figure out if she can unmask the true killer. I guess it is kind of funny that the song is called Haunted, and part of this book is talking about psychics. Are ghosts real? That's not why I picked it for this song, though. Agnes has several relationships from her past that she is still struggling to get over. She still feels the loss very deeply. Her sister has passed away, and that is why she is now responsible for helping to take care of Cedric. I believe her sister had been married to a man that Agnes herself had romantic feelings for at one point. So again, not a super healthy relationship there. And Agnes herself also has a lost love who passed away, and she is still mourning the loss of him years later. So I do think this book talks about that theme of being lost and adrift after losing an important person in your life. And it also has some gothic vibes that I think kind of fit the tone of this song. Now, the next book that I'm going to recommend is another one that's extremely popular on BookTube, so I'm not going to talk about it that much because I'm sure most of you have read it already. But let's talk about Long Live. This is a song that Taylor Swift wrote about the members of her band. So Obviously, the book that I'm going to recommend for that is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a 1970s historical fiction following the members of the title band, Daisy Jones and the Six. Years after their mysterious breakup at the height of their fame, they are filming a documentary talking about the formation and ultimate ending of their band. Very clear parallel here between the book and the song, so obviously I couldn't pass out the opportunity to mention this book in this video. I really do like Taylor Jenkins Reid's historical fiction books. This is my second favorite of hers, Evelyn Hugo being my absolute favorite. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. And there's also now the Amazon Prime adaptation, which I thought was pretty good. I will mention it in one of my upcoming What I Watched Recently videos. I just stubbed my toe while getting up to pick up the next book. Anyways, so the next song I want to recommend a book for is Castle's Crumbling. This is one of the From the Vault songs, and basically this song uses a royalty metaphor to talk about how Taylor feels like people are turning on her. You know, she used to be really praised and now she's receiving more vitriol. And she's kind of talking about the fact, like, I feel like my world is crumbling down around me. I don't want to drag you down with me. So obviously for this song, I knew I had to pick a fantasy or a historical fiction book that deals with royalty, like obviously. And so I decided that I was going to pick a book I really enjoyed, but I feel like a lot of people on BookTube do not know about it, and that is The Sun in Splendor by Sharon K. Penman. This is a historical fiction novel following Richard III as the main character, and I feel like this is a great fit for that song because Richard III is a monarch who gets a bad reputation and really was vilified by history. However, this novel offers a more sympathetic portrait of him and really delves into the loving romantic relationship he had with his wife, Anne Neville. This book is casting this maligned historical figure in a new light that's more nuanced and sympathetic. I also absolutely love the Richard and Anne romance. They are childhood best friends who end up falling in love and getting married. Highly recommend this book. I would like to reread it at some point just to refresh my memory a little bit. However, it is like 900 pages, so I don't know if I actually will be rereading it anytime soon, but really beautiful book, definitely worth your time. And finally, I think one of my favorite From the Vault songs on Speak Now, Taylor's version, has to be Timeless. This is just such a beautiful romantic song about two people who are soulmates. They would find each other in any time and place across any century. Just two souls who will always find each other and choose each other. So I had a couple of thoughts about what I wanted to recommend to go with this song. Obviously, my first thought was Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. Again, this is a very popular book, and I'm sure you've heard of it. It was also adapted into the Stars series, which I also really enjoy. I think this book really goes with this song because it is a time travel historical romance. The two main characters are Jamie and Claire, and while this series does have its faults, what I love about the books and the show is the strong relationship and enduring love these two have for each other. They go through so much together and nothing can change their feelings for one another. I think because of that, it does go with the song really well. And since it has that time travel element, it literally, you know, ties into that concept of finding each other across the centuries. But I also wanted to recommend something else because, like I said, that book is already insanely popular. You've probably heard of it, and I wanted to feel like I was potentially recommending you something you hadn't heard of before. So I was thinking, what other books have this sort of time travel romance element? And what I thought of was A Rip Through Time by Kelly Armstrong. This is the first in the series, and it actually was pitched as Outlander meets The Alienist. So if you want a time travel historical fiction story that has an element of romance but is a bit more murdery, I recommend this. This series follows Mallory, a modern-day homicide detective who ends up being transported back in time to Victorian-era Edinburgh. She finds herself in the body of the housemaid of Dr. Duncan Gray, who is a Victorian medical examiner. And there are hints that as these two work together to solve murder mysteries, they might develop romantic feelings for one another. I think it is somewhat similar to Outlander in terms of the time travel romance element, but it does have a much stronger murder mystery component. If that's something that you're into, you might enjoy this series. And I also think it's not talked about as much on BookTube, so hopefully it's a good recommendation for you. And that is it for my book recommendations inspired by Speak Now, Taylor's version. I hope you enjoyed. If there are any books you would recommend based on songs from Speak Now, do let me know in the comments section. And if you're still here but don't know what to comment, why don't you leave a purple heart emoji in the comment section down below. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. My social media links are in the description if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an enchanting rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you next time.